Katt Williams didn't just throw out warnings, he sounded an alarm nobody wanted to hear. And now, looking back, it feels less like comedy and more like a prophecy. Years before a single document surfaced, before the headlines and court filings, he was already pointing fingers at the untouchable elite, insisting the truth wasn't buried, it was sitting right in front of us. Now that the Epstein files are finally out in the open, those old clips hit different. The laughter fades. The room gets quiet. Because what once sounded wild suddenly feels painfully accurate. When Katt walked onto Club Shay Shay, he wasn't there to entertain. He came with something heavier. No punchlines. No filters. Just smoke rising from secrets Hollywood hoped would stay locked away. And with every sentence, he pushed open doors the industry had nailed shut, hinting that the real danger wasn't just in politics, it was the celebrities, the household names, caught in shadows they prayed would never see the light.
That's the battle that's going on, is people who profit from the manipulation of others by getting you to believe something that's not the case. And that's how they make their living. And it is now a difficult time for those entities.
Back then, the internet treated him like background noise. They rolled their eyes, called him jealous, unstable, washed up, anything but truthful. The clips were meme-feed. The warnings were buried under laughter. But fast forward to now, and those same jokes don't land the same way. Because once court documents started circulating, once flight logs began trending, once sealed records cracked open, the room shifted. Suddenly, denial didn't feel as comfortable. It felt fragile. When the Epstein files finally surfaced, chaos followed. Social media turned into a battleground overnight. Fans scrambled to shield their idols, defending reputations with blind loyalty. For many, the idea that their favorite icons could even brush against something this dark was too much to process. It shattered the illusion. And out of all the names whispered, speculated, dissected, one hit like an earthquake. Jay-Z. The reaction was immediate. Loud. Emotional. Divided.
You take people like Jay-Z and Pusha T, they made their living our people, so how the they gonna stand up for our people? You know what I'm saying? But we forget that because we love Jay-Z's music so much. We love Pusha's music so much, right? But you think they would ever, Beyonce had the best fit for somebody else? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You think they would ever tell the truth? No, if they told the truth, they'd go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So you have liars. Man. Liars are now the face of our...
An unnamed accuser placed his name inside those documents, and that single mention detonated across the internet. Within minutes, outrage exploded. His supporters went into overdrive, dissecting timelines, defending his legacy, insisting the math didn't add up. They argued he was still climbing in the mid-90s, still building, still hustling, nowhere near the level of access people were implying. How could someone who was just starting out possibly be inside elite rooms? But here's the part no one likes to say out loud. New to fame doesn't mean new to power. Visibility and access are not the same currency. You can be unknown to the public and still known in very private circles. And even in those early years, Jay-Z wasn't exactly isolated from influence. He was already navigating rooms filled with executives, moguls, gatekeepers, the kind of spaces most artists spend decades trying to reach. As the files trended, old footage resurfaced like ghosts from a forgotten archive. Interviews, red carpets, private events. In several clips, he appeared alongside heavyweight industry figures, including Harvey Weinstein, smiling for cameras, standing shoulder to shoulder. But when people revisited those moments with fresh eyes, something felt different. The body language, the tone, the way conversations unfolded. To some viewers, the energy looked tense, almost managed, almost controlled. And suddenly, scenes that once felt ordinary started to feel loaded. Not proof, not conclusions, just questions. The kind that linger longer than they should.
Your thoughts on Donald Trump and what it means for what it means for mass incarceration.
You know what? This is a labor of love for Jay, and as a result, he's my friend. We're here to talk about that and nothing else.
Then can I ask you about mass incarceration? And do you think the movement...
And it didn't end with paperwork or court filings. Soon, the internet started digging deeper, pulling old memories out of storage. Forgotten photos, grainy videos, guest lists from another era. Suddenly, Jay-Z was being spotted all over again, standing shoulder to shoulder at ultra-exclusive parties, surrounded by the same controversial power players people were now side-eyeing. Rooms filled with billionaires, moguls, and men whose names keep showing up in the worst kinds of headlines. Back then, nobody blinked. It was just industry networking. Just celebrities being celebrities. Even when Kanye hinted at something darker years ago, most people laughed him off like background noise. Now, those same clips feel different. People are replaying his words with fresh ears, analyzing every pause, every warning, every moment he sounded less like a rapper and more like someone trying to tell us what was really happening behind velvet ropes. But the spotlight didn't stop with him. Once the files cracked open, the dominoes started falling. Other famous names began resurfacing, dragged back into conversations they probably hoped were long buried. Naomi Campbell's name surfaced through flight logs, showing multiple trips aboard Epstein's private jet in the early 2000s. On paper, it looked like simple travel. Just another celebrity hopping between events. She's publicly denied knowing anything about his crimes and has repeatedly said she stands with the victims. And maybe that's true. Maybe it is. But the internet doesn't deal in maybes. Because alongside those logs, old emails and archived footage started making the rounds, clips that painted a more complicated picture. And for many watching, it sparked an uncomfortable question. How much did she really see? And what exactly was happening when young models were being offered career opportunities that led straight into those same private circles?
But there's nothing about Naomi Campbell really coming forward yet. I'm surprised. I'm like bitterly surprised. Her time.
Yeah, they said her name was on the list like the most as far as like flight records.
Yeah.
She was on a lot of flights.
A lot of flights.
You mentioned
also Diddy's ex-girlfriend.
Hey.
Isn't that funny? What a small world.
There you go.
After the party is the hotel lobby.
After the
Hey. Come on, Jack. Come on. Hey.
You want to know what's funny though? Yeah. Naomi Campbell is finally dressed.
Yeah. What? Y'all ain't heard?
Cruella DeVille is finally being checked.
Wow. Hey, I've seen some shit. I've seen something on that.
Listen to me, any woman that Mike Tyson has to put a restraining order on needs to be checked.
That is facts. Them is facts. Oh, wait, hold on, wait.
I keep telling everybody, she the Ghislaine.
Man.
I'm still trying to figure out how she pulled that off. Where she was able to get a white woman to go to jail for.
And then there's Bill Gates, a name nobody expected to see tangled up in any of this. For years, he carefully framed it as a minor lapse in judgment. A few dinners, a handful of meetings, nothing serious, nothing meaningful. Just brief encounters, he said, like bumping into the wrong person at the wrong time. On television, he called it a mistake and tried to move on, like it was nothing more than an awkward footnote in an otherwise spotless legacy. But the documents tell a colder story. Because when the record surfaced, they didn't show a couple of harmless dinners. They showed patterns, repeated contact, multiple meetings, connections that stretched far beyond casual. The kind of consistency that makes people pause and ask, how accidental is accidental, really? At some point, coincidence starts looking like choice. Then things got even more personal. Not long after those details started circulating, his marriage quietly collapsed. And when Melinda Gates finally spoke out, her tone wasn't subtle. She admitted how deeply uncomfortable Epstein made her feel, how disturbed she was by the relationship, how it lingered like a shadow over their lives. You could hear it in her voice. This wasn't just business discomfort. It was something heavier, something that shook trust at its core. Bill has since stepped forward again, denying the allegations, apologizing for the association, trying to put distance between himself and the scandal. But by now, the public isn't so quick to accept clean explanations. Because once the smoke gets this thick, people start assuming there's fire somewhere behind it. And for many watching, his words don't sound like innocence. They sound like damage control.
It's foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him. No, apparently Jeffrey wrote an email to himself. That email was never sent. The email is, false. So I don't know what his thinking was there. It just reminds me, every minute I spent with him, I regret and I, apologize that I did that. It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
Even Chris Tucker's name quietly slipped into the records, tied to a flight aboard Epstein's private jet back in the early 2000s. At first glance, it didn't look explosive, just another entry on a long, confusing manifest. And technically, being listed doesn't automatically mean guilt. But by that point, it wasn't about proof anymore. It was about patterns. And with every new celebrity name that surfaced, the picture started feeling less random and a lot more connected. Because this clearly wasn't some tiny, isolated circle. It wasn't just politicians. It wasn't just billionaires. It wasn't confined to one world. It stretched across music, film, tech, an entire network of familiar faces people thought they knew. And that realization alone made the list feel heavier than any single accusation. Chris and his team didn't waste time. Almost immediately, they shifted into damage control. Statements were drafted. Explanations were polished. The story they offered was simple and clean. His presence wasn't social. It wasn't suspicious. It was humanitarian. They said he had only been on Epstein's jet for a charity trip to Africa, something focused on philanthropy, AIDS awareness, and doing good for struggling communities. But by then, the public had grown skeptical of neat explanations. Because when the same plane keeps showing up, and the same names keep reappearing, even the most innocent story starts to feel like it's missing a piece.
Jeffrey Epstein, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. We flew Bill Clinton and a lot of different. That was a humanitarian trip to Africa, and I met him on that trip because it was his plane. I didn't know who plane we was getting on, but it was a whole bunch of dignitary people. We was with a delegation, and yeah, I met him, and you don't know people what they do in their private lives, so yeah.
But tell me this, Chris. You was on this private plane, and you could tell that it was a private plane because they called it, was this Lolita Express?
Oh yeah, it was a private plane. Yes. Oh yes.
But wait a minute. You didn't never go to that island, did you?
No. I don't know where that thing at. No. I don't think.
Plane was enough.
Hey, we was going to Africa.
According to them, the trip also included Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey, so it was supposed to look official and innocent, but almost nobody believed that explanation.
That we got now is Epstein Island Chris Tucker. Oh, not Smokey. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Ever talk to you about like, hey, I know Donald Trump, hey, I know Kevin Spacey, hey, I know Leonardo DiCaprio? Like, did he ever talk about these celebrities and like these stories with them or anything like that?
No, he would tell me things like I knew when he flew Clinton to Africa, which is what first put him on the map. He told me he went to Africa. He took Spacey, Chris Tucker. He would tell me, mention people's names that he was with, but he wouldn't tell me much about them themselves. Mm-hmm. But he would tell me he was with so and so. Like,
if I didn't know no better, I'd tell you he's the greatest. I don't care what you say. To be confident and not delusional is a real skill. Most of these confident people we see is really delusional.
Well, you don't think they asked Chris Tucker to come back in the second Friday?
Chris Tucker didn't want to be the poster child for smoking weed. He don't smoke weed like that.
Right.
He in the church. He Michael Jackson's best friend. Christmas. Michael Jackson called him Christmas. You ever met a man that gave you a little nickname like that?
No.
Me neither. Must be the greatest.
Man, I ain't gonna be able to get nobody back. I ain't gonna be able to get no more comedians.
They all coming.
No, they ain't.
Are you kidding?
Nah.
Hey, I promise you.
I done got all the rest of them. I done got the ones.
I promise you, everybody trying to double back. You're gonna be having to beat them off with a stick. You won't let him. They're coming. Much as.
But bringing up Bill Clinton only poured gasoline on the fire. By that point, the images were already burned into the public's memory. Clinton inside Epstein's mansion, smiling, chatting, looking far too at ease for someone who supposedly had no clue what was happening behind those walls. It wasn't just the location that bothered people. It was the body language, the comfort, the casual energy. To many watching, that relaxed demeanor spoke louder than any carefully crafted statement ever could. And Chris? He was orbiting those same circles during that exact era. Same parties, same private flights, same exclusive rooms most people will never even see. Yet now he expects the public to believe he somehow missed everything, noticed nothing, suspected no one. That's a tough sell. Because the more these worlds overlap, the less believable innocence starts to sound. Just when it felt like Katt's warnings had already shaken enough people, new voices began stepping into the chaos. The conversation didn't fade, it multiplied. As the documents kept spreading online, longtime singer Jaguar Wright suddenly re-emerged, sharper and louder than ever, ready to share what she claimed she'd witnessed from the inside. And she didn't hold back. She added gasoline to an already raging fire, pointing straight at the music industry's power structure. In a long, unfiltered interview, she made it clear her problems with Jay-Z weren't sparked by one bad moment or a single misunderstanding. According to her, this wasn't one incident. It was a pattern, something she said she watched grow slowly, year after year, right in front of her eyes.
Adjacent to, or, traveling in the same circles as the person that's been selected to be this icon. Because let's just be very clear, he was selected, just like Diddy was selected. Question is by who? Now, for many years, I minded my business about a lot of things, but a lot of things came to me. I heard a lot of things. You gotta remember, this was back when I was still trying to be amicable with the industry so that I could have my career, so that I could have my life, right? Everything that I worked for, everything that I sacrificed. Up until, 2016, 2017, I was still ignoring a lot of things. A lot of things. It wasn't until I couldn't ignore it anymore because I realized this ain't going nowhere. And then when I started seeing exactly how dangerous things had become, it was very simple. It's either you're going to speak up or they're going to keep getting away with it, or you're going to get handled up on regardless because you're not playing along the way you should be playing along. Like that's how this works. Like the people that get rewarded are the people that keep the secrets, the people that are quiet, and the people that lie for them. The people who get a pass are the people who pretend that like they don't know what's going on. And then the people that speak up are the people that, get persecuted, get framed, get trashed, are forced to go broke, that kind of shit. So yeah, like I cannot say that it was an overnight process. I was hoping. See, I was always so quick to just blame, all of the harm and the terrible shit in the industry on Diddy. I wasn't really willing to accept the fact that they were working together.
Eventually, she said, something inside her snapped. There's only so much you can witness before it starts eating at you. According to Jaguar, the industry never truly rewarded honesty. That was the illusion they sold to the public. Behind the scenes, it was a different currency entirely. Silence. Obedience. Looking the other way. Those were the traits that kept you safe. The ones who kept secrets, who played their role, who pretended not to notice anything suspicious. They were protected, elevated, even celebrated. But the second someone spoke out, the floor disappeared beneath them. She claimed whistleblowers didn't just lose opportunities, they were erased. Blacklisted. Labeled crazy. Their reputations shredded, their money cut off, their careers slowly strangled until they had no platform left to stand on. Not punished loudly, just quietly removed, like they were never there to begin with. Jaguar admitted that for years, she pinned all the blame on Diddy alone. It was easier that way. Easier to believe one powerful man was the problem instead of something much bigger. But over time, the dots stopped connecting so neatly. The deeper she looked, the more tangled everything seemed. Different names, different rooms, same patterns. That's when she realized this wasn't one villain, it was a network. And that's why, she said, she could never fully buy the public stories claiming certain power players were never close, never collaborated, never crossed paths. Because the old interviews, the archived footage, the photos people forgot about, they told a different story. One that suggested those connections were a lot tighter than anyone wanted to admit.
Jag, with Jay-Z and his situation, as far as the early Jay-Z, you see him with Aaliyah Young, of course, goes to Dame Dash next. You see him with Foxy Brown. You see the maturation of Beyonce and him getting with Beyonce. You see Rihanna at a young age. Is it more so, and you were young as a singer, is it more so that, you know, when you're in this industry, men are going to most likely talk and date their peers? And it's just that technically all the new rising stars at that time
are babies.
Were just young women, just young kids.
Babies. Being ran around by grown men. Babies. I got offered my first record deal when I was 13 years old. I got offered another one when I was 15. I'm so grateful that my father said no. I ended up not signing a record deal until I was in my early 20s. And as young as that is, looking back now, at least I was a legal adult. Most of these girls, they get moved around and touched around very early on. And, you know, and the people that have control of everything are untouchable. So how do you argue with that?
Is it of concern that before this list came out, that the people in this power they have their hands in keeping this list, you know, suppressed?
Yeah. Come on, man. I think we're speaking about this from a place where we're trying to make it seem like things are fair and people are just and people are decent. And rather than looking at it for what it is, the one thing that all of these files and all of these documents, and let's just be clear, we're talking about 3 million documents that have been released so far. When you release that amount of information, you're doing it to fatigue people. You know, it's going to take people quite some time to get through all of these files, and who knows how long they're going to be available. Stuff might start go missing, things of that nature. But we all should be going through and combing through every inch of everything that's going on, because when they put that much out there, they're hoping you're going to just overlook something. They're hoping you're going to get fatigued from all of the information, and you're not. We got to keep looking. Like, we have like 4 people around us that are every day combing through a bit. We combing through a bit, and you got to sit down and you got to take your time and look at it. What these files prove is that there are no rules, is that nothing has ever been fair. It's been being covered up. Like,
She said denial is a comfort zone most people never want to leave. It's softer there, safer, because facing ugly truths means tearing down everything you thought you knew about your heroes. And for a lot of people, it's easier to laugh things off, scroll past the evidence, and label it conspiracy than to sit with that discomfort. Ignorance feels lighter. Reality feels heavy. She pointed directly at media personalities who kept minimizing the Epstein documents, brushing them aside like they were nothing. The same recycled lines kept popping up everywhere. Names don't mean anything. These aren't official. It was just a tip line. Excuses stacked on top of excuses, like they were trying to smother the story before it could breathe. Jaguar wasn't buying any of it. Her question cut straight through the noise. If the files were meaningless, then why hide them for so long? Why seal them up like state secrets? Why fight so hard to keep the public from seeing what was inside? To her, that contradiction said everything. She put it bluntly, people will destroy regular, innocent individuals over nothing but gossip, no proof, no paperwork, just whispers. Yet when a billionaire or a superstar's name shows up tied to Epstein, suddenly everyone turns into a defense attorney. Suddenly it's caution. Suddenly it's, let's not jump to conclusions. To her, that logic didn't add up. If someone's name is connected to Epstein in any serious capacity, she argued, that alone should trigger real scrutiny, not instant excuses and polished PR statements. Questions should come first, not protection. Then the conversation moved toward the Department of Justice, and the tone got even heavier. The host asked the question most people were already thinking: why were these files buried for years? The Epstein Files Transparency Act didn't even show up until mid-2025, basically forcing disclosure. But before that, both the Trump and Biden administrations had chances to release everything, and neither one did. Jaguar didn't hesitate. To her, this wasn't red versus blue. This wasn't left or right. Politics was just a distraction.
Administration, don't forget the Biden administration had the ability to release these files as well, and they didn't either.
True.
So this isn't a political thing. Let's stop making it political. I think everyone wants to make it political. Oh, look at the politicians, and this isn't about the rappers, and this isn't about this, and this is about the politicians. No, it's not. No, it's not, because you got Democrats and Republicans equally aligned up in this whole foolishness. This is about a certain class of people in this country that have been doing all kinds of shit. And it really doesn't matter what your religious background is, what your social standing is, or what your political standing is. It really doesn't matter. This is not about them versus us. No, this is about the weirdos and then the normal people. And not even normal people, just decent people. The problem is that the weirdos are outnumbering, it's looking like, the decent people, 10-1. Like, does anybody get that? Like, the simple fact that nobody is holding TMZ into account for anything, and they've been mentioned in these files. Harvey Levin specifically.
To Jaguar, the silence says everything. Elon Musk's situation also took a sharper turn with the document release. Musk has previously said he refused invitations to Epstein's island, but emails from 2012 suggest something different.
Tonight, the Department of Justice releasing their final batch of files connected to the late convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. New emails from 2012 and 2013 show billionaire Elon Musk and Epstein coordinating a possible visit to the financier's infamous island. Musk asks when the wildest party will be. In another exchange, Epstein telling Musk there is always space for you and says he will send a heli for him. It's not clear if Musk ever visited the island. Musk's name has popped up in prior releases, including from the House Oversight Committee's release from the Epstein estate. He did not respond to NBC News' request for comment, but previously called Epstein a cretin and said he never advised him. Musk told Vanity Fair that Epstein tried repeatedly to get him to his island, but he declined. Emails also show Trump Cabinet Secretary Howard Lutnick coordinating a visit in the Caribbean in 2012. It's not clear if the meetings happened. Lutnick claimed to have cut ties with Epstein in 2005.
My wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
But the emails show drink and lunch meetings being arranged between the two well into 2012. A Commerce Secretary spokesperson said in a statement, quote, Secretary Lutnick has had limited interactions with Mr. Epstein in the presence of his wife and has never been accused of wrongdoing. The drop also includes a spreadsheet summary of complaints made to the FBI's National Threat Operations Center. It contained allegations against former President Donald Trump and former President Bill Clinton. There's no indication the FBI turned up evidence supporting the tips. And a note on the file read some of these individuals are reporting secondhand information and determined some of the tips were not credible. The DOJ later temporarily pulled the file without explanation. Both former presidents have denied any wrongdoing.
Woody Allen's name surfaces again and again throughout the files, popping up so often it stops feeling like coincidence and starts feeling deliberate. According to the records, Epstein repeatedly tried arranging private dinners that included Allen, carefully curating guest lists and looping in other recognizable names like it was some exclusive social club. It wasn't just casual meetups either. There were messages about business, about projects, about favors being exchanged behind closed doors. At one point, Epstein even stepped in to facilitate introductions connected to Allen's film work. In another exchange, a high-profile lawyer reached out, asking if Epstein could help get his son placed on an Allen movie. And instead of brushing it off, Epstein replied that he'd look into it, like that kind of influence was just another day at the office. Like doors simply opened when he knocked. And that detail alone made people uneasy. Because it suggested something bigger, a man who wasn't just socializing with celebrities, but actively moving pieces for them, making calls, pulling strings, quietly positioning himself as the connector everyone seemed willing to use. Then Katt Williams circled back to a point most people would rather ignore. He said there are public figures who sell one image to the world, rebellious, edgy, untouchable, yet somehow never seem to face consequences. No lawsuits, no raids, no legal smoke at all. Meanwhile, they talk like they live wild, dangerous lives. To him, that contradiction wasn't random. It was suspicious. He compared it to a chessboard. Nobody plays the game without pawns. And half the time, you don't even realize who's a piece and who's actually moving the board. When the host asked whether fame and power actually change people, whether something happens to them once they reach a certain level, Katt didn't even pause to think. He answered like it was obvious. People don't always come back the same, he said. Not after certain decisions. According to him, there's a point where someone crosses a line they once swore they'd never step over, and once that happens, something inside them shifts for good. A moral switch flips. The person the public used to know starts fading. And no rebrand, no charity work, no carefully staged interviews can fully restore who they used to be. Some changes, he implied, are permanent. He said the pressure isn't just an entertainment thing either. It's everywhere. Politics, business, music, film. Every industry has its version of the same test. Offers get made, favors get dangled, lines get blurred. And most people, when backed into a corner, choose survival over principle. They listen. They stay quiet. They convince themselves it's necessary. What shook him most, he admitted, was seeing it firsthand. Being close enough to witness how much control certain power players really had behind the curtain. Not influence, control. The kind where rooms go silent when they walk in. The kind where nobody dares to say no. Because in those circles, no isn't an answer. If they wanted something, the system didn't resist, it folded, bent, rearranged itself until they got exactly what they asked for. Near the end, the conversation drifted toward government agencies and the rumors that always follow them. Katt didn't laugh it off. He didn't roll his eyes. He said people misunderstand what groups like the FBI or CIA actually do. In his mind, they've always been working quietly in the background. Watching, collecting, documenting everything. Sometimes for years. Sometimes for decades. Then he dropped one last thought that hung in the air. Files don't magically appear 30 years later unless someone was recording the whole time. And that's the part, he said, that should really unsettle people. Because it means someone has always been watching. Now that those files are finally public, the shift is obvious. Celebrities who once acted untouchable suddenly look nervous. Interviews get canceled. Statements get shorter. Some disappear altogether. Hollywood doesn't feel glamorous right now. It feels scared.